I'm Sarai.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio. Welcome back to Seamwork Radio, where we share practical ideas for building a creative process so you can sew with intention and joy. And this is our 4th episode in our Quick Tips series. We're sharing quick episodes full of tips to answer your most burning sewing questions. And today we're talking about your fabric stash. So we're going to cover 5 ideas to help you manage your stash. All right, our icebreaker for today, Haley, what's the black sheep in your fabric stash, the one that doesn't fit in with all the other fabrics in there?
Okay, so I have this silk fabric. It's red. It's like a beautiful, warm, tomato-y kind of a red. And it has this bird of paradise print on it. It's very large print, but airy. There's a lot of negative space. It's cool. I like it. It's vintage. It's from the 80s. And I think someone gave it to me. This is always the case with the weird fabrics in my stash. And I always thought I should make a little slip dress or something for vacation or something like that. It seems like it would be perfect, but I never get around to it. But it's kind of fun and quirky, but I don't know. It's still there. It's definitely not a color I typically wear.
Yeah.
Or I never really go for any kind of tropical print, but I love a theme. I love especially when you're on vacation, you're yeah, why not wear things I wouldn't wear?
I have a really pretty tropical silk that I bought when I was in Japan years and years ago. That is so pretty, but again, like you, I don't really wear tropical. Not that I wouldn't wear it. It's also only a yard or a yard and a half, so I don't really know exactly what to do with it. But it is very pretty.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
And it's silk, so you're it's nice quality.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's really lovely. I keep thinking I should give it to somebody who would have a use for it. I think I have this fabric in my stash it's really cute. It's just not me. And it's because I bought it to make a gift. So it's a rayon fabric, and it has little kind of abstract vase shapes all over it in different colors. It's very colorful. And the colors are very pretty, but it has a lot of color on it. And it has sort of a mid-century look to it, kind of like a Charles and Ray Ames sort of look to it. So very cute. It's just not me. And I bought it because I was going to make a scarf for somebody. And then when I got it, I realized for some reason when I bought it, I had thought that I didn't realize that it was printed and not that the reverse wouldn't look very good.
Yeah.
And so when I got it, I realized that it wouldn't really make a good scarf. So it's just been sitting in my stash ever since. And I'm just not sure what to do with it because it's cute, but it's not me.
Yeah.
I think those are the hardest things for me to part with.
Yeah, totally. That's tricky.
Yeah. Well, if you have an icebreaker for us for a future episode and you're a Seamwork member, you can leave it at seamwork.com/go/icebreakers. That'll take you to a thread on our community where we collect all of our icebreaker questions to use on future episodes. All right, so into our topic for today. I think sewing and buying fabric are 2 different hobbies, and they're both equally enjoyable. I love doing both of those things. But it's also important to marry the 2 hobbies so that your fabric buying habits and your sewing habits can match up and you actually get use out of all that fabric you're buying, because we don't want to just shop for the sake of shopping. As fun as it is to buy fabric, I think a big reason people sew is to create meaning in their wardrobes and not just buy for the sake of buying. So I have a question for you, which is, what is a fabric that you feel like you just can't pass up when you see it in a fabric store?
Ooh, merino jersey. Especially the high quality stuff that's really just yummy feeling against the skin and in a good neutral color, camel, dark gray, navy. Because I know I'll use it. And I know I can use it for a lot of different things. But I just love nothing more than a merino t-shirt.
Yeah. A merino tee is so nice, so practical. You can wear it hiking. You can wear it all winter long. It's breathable. Merino is just a great textile.
Luckily, my cannot pass up fabric is like highly specific.
Yeah.
So.
You don't come across it every day.
You don't. That's why it's like a cannot pass up.
Yeah. When I went to Australia years ago, we had did a sewing meetup there, and we went to a bunch of different fabric stores. It was a whole group of us. It was so fun. But we went to the fabric store in, I think it was in Sydney, and oh my goodness, there was just so much merino there.
I love that place.
It was incredible.
They used to have a location in LA.
Yeah, I've been to that one too before they closed.
And I would go frequently, too frequently.
Oh, they have wonderful, wonderful things. Not just the merino. It's a great, great store. I think for me, something that I have trouble passing up when I see it in a store, it used to be, I would say, like really pretty silk prints. That used to be something I would shop a lot, but less so now. I think now if I see like a Liberty fabric, that's a good deal, or something Liberty-esque. There's a lot of like really pretty cottons now that have kind of that look to them. I love a ditzy print. I love like a packed floral. Those are things that it's hard for me to not buy up and buy like all the variations because I just love them. And they're just really usable. You can use them for garments. You can use them for bags, quilting projects, all kinds of stuff. So that's one that's hard for me to pass up. But especially if it's like a nice lightweight lawn. Obviously the Liberty Tana lawns are just incredible. They feel so good.
So nice.
Yeah. And I have a few that, now looking back on them, I bought them because they were pretty and they were Liberty, but now I have had them in my stash a while and I'm like, this is not really like my favorite Liberty print. I just bought it because it was Liberty. And I thought, well, when I get it, I'll probably love it. And, that's not always, I guess there's a lesson in that about brand names and, you know, really following your heart instead of what you think you should like. But generally, I do love those fabrics.
What about like on the opposite end of the spectrum? What about the fabrics that are on your like do not buy list?
The thing that comes to mind, first of all, is because I just got a swatch of this in the mail. I had ordered some fabric, some corduroy fabric on Etsy, and they sent a bunch of other swatches. And that is a polyester chiffon or georgette. It's like the worst of all worlds. It's polyester, so it's not going to hold a press very well. It's going to shred like crazy, and it's going to be hard to work with because it's so lightweight. Yeah. So you don't get any of the benefits of silk, and it doesn't really look like silk in the end either. So that's what I try to avoid at all costs. Less so about the look, more so about how incredibly difficult it is to work with.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'll have to, really just synthetics in general. I like practice extreme caution. I am not like saying all synthetics are bad. They have like their place and they can be beneficial when blended with other fibers. But like anything, most of the time, 100% synthetic fabrics just are not for me personally. Yeah. I don't enjoy working with them. I don't enjoy wearing them. I don't want to be smelly. I'm very self-conscious about like I don't want to ever,
being sweaty.
Yeah. And it's like, synthetics are made from like plastics. So like, I think of like, I always feel like I'm saran wrapped.
Yeah.
It's like, not very ventilating.
Yeah. I just find them often difficult to work with.
So challenging.
Yeah.
So a little pivot. How do you keep how is your stash organized?
I organize mine by fabric type. So I have a cabinet, which is sitting right over here. So it has cabinet doors on it, and then there are drawers inside. And I have the drawers labeled for different types of fabric, which is really important for me so that they don't get mixed up because otherwise they would be all over the place. So I have one for silks. I have one for, silks and rayons. I think I have some rayons in there too. I have one for cottons, I have one for wool fabrics, and I have one for knits, which is a larger drawer as knits. I also have a drawer for interfacing. And that's how I keep mine organized, just by fabric type. Because usually that's how if I'm shopping my stash, I'm looking for a specific type or weight of fabric. And typically something that's, for example, a silk, it's going to be lighter weight. So I kind of know where to look.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have two sets of drawers. They're like kind of like they're like plastic Rubbermaid drawers. One is for my knits, one is for my wovens, and I sort them by weight. So the heaviest ones are at the bottom, lightest at the top. So when I'm like looking for fabric for a project, I know obviously whether I'm using a knit or a woven, and then if I want lightweight, medium, or heavyweight. So it just makes it pretty easy to shop. And then I keep my interfacing in like a separate spot, my scraps in another spot. And that's like what I found works for me because it's like very like flexible based on like what's currently in my stash.
Yeah.
I find that if I have like too rigid of a system, that I have to rearrange it too often.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be flexible. I agree with that.
Well, let's dive into our tips here. I am going to start us off with tip number 1, which is really like a mindset habit shift, and that is to shop your stash first. I think that when you start a new project, it can be really exciting to like hop on your computer, start shopping for fabric, jump in the car, go to your favorite fabric store, but really shifting yourself to seeing what you have in your stash that will work for the project that you have in mind is like a really great first step to managing your fabric stash, because a well-managed fabric stash is a stash that you actually use.
Yeah. And as I was planning my fall sewing, so if you're watching this on video, you can see it behind me here. When I was planning my fall sewing, I really tried to make use of my stash as much as possible. So I only have a couple fabrics that I'm actually buying. And I think it's so easy to forget about the great stuff that you already have. All right. The next tip that we have for you is to make your stash look nice. So for you, this might mean storing it by color or by season or by fabric type or by weight. It really just depends on what's useful for you. But making sure that your stash is organized and just looks inviting is going to really help you to get more use out of it. I think if it's just a tangled mess and you can't find what you need when you need it, then that's, I think, a huge barrier to actually using what you already have. And I don't know, it just feels more, if you want to have that experience of shopping for fabric without actually shopping for fabric, I think having your stash really pretty and well organized can help a lot with that. And you can also download an app for cataloging your fabric. If you have a lot of fabric and feel like that would help you to get more use out of it, you can go to the community and ask for people's recommendations for current apps. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that you can use. And there's some all-purpose apps that you can use that aren't made specifically for this, like Notion or something like that. And there's lots of different things that you can do. But I think I know in the past, my stash is a lot smaller than it used to be, but when it was bigger, having a way to catalog everything that was in it. I used a swatch book, but I think now I'd probably do it digitally.
Yeah.
It was really helpful.
All right. Our next tip is to get to know your colors and your prints. I think that beautiful, vibrant colors and exciting prints can be so tempting when you are shopping for fabric. Like, I get it. I've totally been there. But do you really wear them?
Yeah.
And for you, that answer totally could be yes. But kind of getting real with yourself and figuring out your own style identity and the colors and the prints that you love to wear, that you feel good wearing, is going to help kind of curb your impulse purchases in the future. So you can use like a wardrobe planning tool, like Design Your Wardrobe. You can use our style workshop if you need to take a step even further back to analyze, what your core style identity is. But getting honest with yourself and getting to know that about yourself can be so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going along with that, tip 4 is to identify your favorite textiles. So one way to do this is to look at the garments that you wear the most and make a list of the fibers that you really, really like. And this is also a good way to help prevent impulse purchases. So if you know what you like and what you enjoy actually wearing, so not just what you like to buy, but what you actually like to wear, that goes a long way to making better decisions about adding to your stash, I think. For me, I like cotton a lot. I like a rib knit a lot. I wear that a lot. I'm wearing it right now. It's just comfy year round. I know that when I see a rib knit in a pretty color, that's something that's more likely going to get used and actually worn than, let's say, a beautiful silk brocade or something like that, which I have already in my stash and has been in there for years. And it looks beautiful, but I never use it. So knowing what those things are can be really, really helpful.
All right. And our final tip is to kind of get to know and understand what your yardage needs are. If you find a fabric that you really love, but you don't have a project quite in mind for it yet, how much yardage you should buy is like always kind of the big question. A lot of people swear by 3 yards. And granted, this is like not an exact science. You'll have to base this a little bit off of your own personal experience. But lots of people find 3 yards to be, or 3 meters to be like pretty adequate in most cases. But if you're more of like a jumpsuit or a pants or a long dress person, 4 may be a better count for you. You can also kind of narrow it down as you are shopping. So if you find something that's like really ideal for a blouse, then you may only need a blouse quantity. A long sleeve blouse, depending on your size, is in the ballpark of 3 yards.
Yeah. I usually buy 3 personally, unless it's something that screams out for 4.
Yeah. If I know I'm going to make pants out of it or like a coat, then I'll go big.
Yeah. Also depends on the width, obviously, but 3 to 4 is I think a good ballpark. All right, so I'm going to quickly recap for us. So we had 5 tips today to help you with your fabric stash. And the first one is to always shop your stash first before going shopping. The second one is to make your stash look nice so it feels more shoppable. Tip number 3 is to get to know your colors and prints, the ones that you actually wear. Tip number 4 is to identify your favorite textiles. So similarly, what are the textiles that you actually get use out of? And tip number 5 is to understand your yardage needs and maybe have a kind of idea in mind of a default amount that you might need if you've come across something you absolutely love. So those are our tips for today. And I wanted to mention something that might be appealing to you if you're looking at your own fabric stash and thinking a bit about shopping, which is that Seamwork members get discounts at some of our favorite indie fabric stores. So if you're not aware of this, our Seamwork members can save anywhere from 10 to 20% off purchases as a member. And a lot of people say that these discounts alone pay for their entire membership. So you can see a list of participating fabric stores at seamwork.com/deals. There are dozens there, and there are some absolutely fabulous shops in there. Some of my absolute favorite places to buy fabric are listed in there and offer deals for our members. And if you liked this episode, I would love if you could forward this episode to one of your sewing friends, somebody that you think would find it helpful. That's how people learn about the podcast. It really helps us to grow the show and keeps us motivated to keep making episodes, of course. And we just really love to hear when somebody has recommended it or somebody has come to the podcast because a friend recommended it to them. That just makes my day. So we really appreciate all the recommendations that we've seen out there, and we'd love to invite you to keep it going because, again, that's how the show grows. All right, you can also follow us on YouTube at Seamwork Video. You can follow us on Instagram at Seamwork. And if you'd like to join Seamwork and become part of our private community, plus get access to hundreds of sewing patterns and dozens of sew-along classes, podcast listeners get a 50% off lifetime discount when you join at seamwork.com/go/podcast50. So that's seamwork.com/go/podcast50. And that does it for us this week. I'm Sarai.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Seamwork Radio. Seamwork Radio is brought to you by the team at Seamwork. Seamwork's an online community that supports you in creating a wardrobe that feels right for you. When you join us at Seamwork, you become part of our private community of makers, and you also get access to monthly sew-along classes, a library of over 200 sewing patterns, and tons of great resources to help guide you through the sewing adventure that you choose. Podcast listeners can get half off a Seamwork Unlimited membership, which means you can download as many of those 200 plus patterns as you want at any time, and our community will be there to guide and support you. If you'd like to join us for half off, just visit seamwork.com/go/podcast50. You can also find us on Instagram at Seamwork or visit our YouTube channel, which is called Seamwork Video. We love hearing from you, so let us know if there's a topic or a personal story that you'd like us to cover. Thanks for listening to Seamwork Radio.